For me, the Lord of the Rings represents and captures one of the main themes of the third book of the Torah, of the book of Leviticus. In one of the scenes, Frodo accuses Gandalf of being late. If you haven't watched it, that doesn't matter. It will make sense. Gandalf looks at him and says, "A wizard is never late, Frodo. No, he is early. He arrives precisely when he means to." In this epic story, the One Ring is a powerful object that corrupts everyone who wears or desires it. It represents evil and death, and its influence spreads like a dark shadow over Middle-earth, the imaginary world of the Lord of the Rings. The only way to destroy the ring and its cruel master Sauron is to throw it into the fiery depths of the Mount Doom, where it was created. The good characters of the story are those who resist the temptation of the ring and seek to protect the beauty and goodness of the Middle-earth. They represent courage and life, and their mission is to restore peace and harmony. It's not the fight between good and evil that drew my attention to the Lord of the Rings, but the proximity between darkness and light, and the idea that they coexist in the same world, often indistinguishable. One way of understanding and presenting the biblical story and the world as well is to put it on a spectrum where impurity and holiness is on one end, and so where impurity represents death and holiness represents life. But in real life, both are part of our world, and they often coexist next to each other, and there is no way to separate clearly one from the other. So this is how Professor Jacob Milgram, formerly of the University of California, explained the book of Leviticus. This book contains many laws about how to deal with various reflections of impurity, such as skin diseases and contact with corpses. According to Milgram, people's immorality makes God disappear from the sanctuary. He argues that the blood represents the ultimate immorality, because blood represents death. And blood of sacrifices symbolizes the darkness of human nature. The brutality and cruelty of animal sacrifices reminded people of their dark side, and therefore influenced them to atone, he said. To illustrate this idea, we could think of immorality as a spiritual pollution. Just as we need to wash our hands regularly to prevent the spread of germs and viruses and diseases, we also need to maintain a healthy spiritual life. The idea of holiness, therefore, is a state of being set apart, is a special cleansing mechanism for spirituality and self-reflection. We dedicate space and time to training ourselves in a spiritual way. Just as we need to exercise and eat healthy food to keep our bodies strong and fit, we must also grow our morality and ethical standards by attending our spiritual gym regularly. Maimonides had a similar understanding of impurity, and just a second. Maimonides had a similar understanding of impurity and applied it to ethical teaching of golden mean, that people should develop behavior habits according to the middle course between two extremes. In his work Shmona Prakim, the 8 chapters, his commentary to Pirkei Avot, he wrote, "When a person sees that he is improperly leaning to one extreme, he should immediately correct his actions, but not by going to the middle way, but going to the other extreme." only until he feels that the balance is established. Once he reaches the balance, he should turn away from the other extreme and follow the proper middle path. For example, if someone doesn't share and never gives charity, one should force them to spend freely, constantly, until they are driven out of bad character trait. This was Maimonides' example. According to Maimonides, it is necessary to take the other extreme measure, because a shift to the middle path of generosity would not be sufficient to cure the affliction. Today we see many extremes in the world, and often coexisting next to each other. Well, politicians try to implement radical theories and ideologies in their countries. People take extreme views and don't see the humanity in their opponents. The difference between Rambam's golden mean approach is not the absence of disagreements and opposition to your views, but inability to see the humanity in your opponents, and the lack of attempt to balance your own views with the challenge of your position. It seems like one must be right in everything and succeed in public work. At least this is the picture we are often presented, where people are refused to say that they are wrong, or at least it's some kind of a unpopular position to take, to admit your mistakes. But in my view, and I think Maimonides would agree, challenging your views and listening to others, to the other side, is the best trait you can demonstrate as a leader. One may ask, what's the point of learning about animal sacrifices? They will never come back, I hope. Do these descriptions and commandments concerning the offering of sacrifices still have any meaning to us today? Is there anything to us to learn from these details about Olah, Mincha, Chatat, Asham, and all the other types of sacrifices? So after the destruction of the Jerusalem temple, rabbis replaced sacrificial system in two ways. The first was to worship God through prayer and study. This is what we do now. The Amidah prayer, the Tfilah, the standing prayer, is direct replacement of sacrifices. We have 3 prayers a day because there used to be 3 times when the sacrifices were burnt in the temple. The first was worship God in prayer and study. The second was via a system that gave sacrifices a new form. Rabbis noticed that in this week's Torah portion, laws of sacrifices were written next to some dietary laws, such as the prohibition of eating blood. Therefore, laws and rituals around preparing and eating food became another way in which the sacrificial system lived on. The Talmud says that the table upon which we eat is like the altar of the temple. When we make bread, when we share food, when we create coziness, when we create our homes, and we share meal with other people, this is a spiritual experience. So our everyday life now should become like a service to God, and like the reminder of keeping up the ethical standards. The Jewish way of introducing change is not a radical leap, but a gradual development, where the past and the existing system are respected and not simply thrown away. It's also never to give up and using every opportunity to develop and improve. The best we have in Judaism today is the result of change caused by a disaster, the loss of sovereignty and the destruction of the temple in the year 70 of the Common Era. Rabbi Abraham Isaac Kook, the famous chief rabbi of the land of Israel, just before the establishment of the Jewish state, held a very interesting view about sacrifices. He taught that eating meat was never meant to be a good idea. It was a temporary dispensation given to humanity, which hasn't yet reached the stage of overcoming its murderous instincts. For Rabbi Kook, eating meat or blood was a sign of human cruelty, proof that human beings were still primitive and had many uncontrolled animalistic traits. Commenting of Kook's view, Nechama Leibovitz, the Jewish educator, writes that the rabbi believed that human beings must slowly be trained to show mercy to their own kind and ultimately to the rest of the animal creation. It's very interesting how this mixture of good and bad can be used. So the blood during the worship of God was actually a reminder of dark side of our life, of our nature. And so is eating meat is a reminder of our animalistic side. It's not a rejection of it, but a reminder that we have it, and we have to control it. Slow, thoughtful development and gradual change rather than revolution and forceful reforms. This is what Judaism is teaching us, and this is what history has proven to be. It doesn't mean, however, that such change will happen on its own and you don't need to do anything. People are agents of this change and partners in God's creation. Sometimes it feels like the change is too late and the world is too slow. And it's interesting, yesterday I had a chance to speak with a person who witnessed the horrors of Mariupol. And she's been living in London here for the last 10 or 9 months. And she says it. She says that it's too slow. It's too slow. We need to change now. And unfortunately, as one modern prophet wrote, a wizard is never late, nor is early. He arrives precisely when he means to. We don't have wizards today. We are only humans. And it doesn't mean we should stop trying to make our society better. But sometimes it takes a long time. This Shabbat is the Shabbat Ha-Gadol, Shabbat of great hope that all extreme views exist only to remind people of their natural dark side that can and should be controlled. This is a Shabbat of hope that humanity can come to harmony and balanced life where everything has a place and time, and everyone recognizes the humanity of others. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will.